Hi there, welcome to Arctic Spa's Learning Hub. I'm John Keirstead, your smart friend in the hot tub business, and today we're going to talk about a problem that happens mostly when people first fill up their spa, which is known as an airlock. An airlock can be really disheartening, especially if you've just got your brand new spa, you fill it up, everything's hooked up, and it doesn't work. Your pump just kind of goes, And it's because there's a safety device in there that detects whether or not there's fluid. And if there isn't fluid in the area, then the pump won't work. And so these airlocks really seem like nothing's working on your spa. So today what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to clear an airlock on any spa. And I'm going to show you some of the features that you might not know that you have on a custom series Arctic spa. So on a custom series Arctic spa, if you take a look in here, you'll see this we call the wet end of the pump. Technically it's the pump, the other parts of the motor. We generally refer to the whole thing as the spa pump. But in here, so you get air trapped in this area and this pump won't work. It won't work unless there's fluid in there. So on an Arctic, if you look closely, on any pump, they'll usually have these little, they're kind of like a key piece that fits in there. It's got a little wing nut sort of thing that you can turn, and that's a bleed valve. When they say bleed, it means we can bleed off the air from this area here. The nice thing about a custom series spa is we've taken one of these out and we've actually put in a self-bleeding system, right? So this right here is designed, you notice that's at the upper half of the wet end because the air tends to be on the top, not on the bottom. So in here, this is connected, and this is connected to a jet line, right? So it's connected to this manifold right here to a jet line to this jet. So when this jet goes on, it's actually gonna, instead of sucking air, well, hopefully it's gonna suck any air that's in here. You can see this has fluid in it. So this particular tub does not have an airlock right now, okay? Unfortunately, we couldn't simulate that for you. I'd like to be able to do it, but if this was cleared of water and this was just air, then what would happen is this thing, when you turned your pumps on, would kind of cough, and this would slowly empty the air out of this line and it would bleed this line. Now that's the automatic feature that we have on the custom series. Every now and then we get one that's just nasty and it won't clear. And so you have to do this manually. Or if you don't, if your spa isn't equipped with the self-bleed system, then you'd have to do this manually. Now you could reach in here, you could use a pair of pliers or something and grab onto this, but my experience is that a lot of times those things actually get so firmly implanted inside there that when you go to twist it, you end up breaking the top off and then you get this leak. And if you don't happen to have another one, or you can't fish the little piece that's stuck in there out, all of a sudden you have a leak that's very difficult to fix and you end up having to get a whole new front plate for your wet end for your spa, which is definitely not what you want. So I generally don't use those to bleed from. You can, but you have to be very careful. And you can see this is kind of an awkward spot. I have a problem with my knee right now. Normally I'd turn around and face directly into here, but in order to do this video, it's easier for me to do like this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna bleed this from the union. So this is a pump union here. Another little thing on Arctics, you notice that the suction side we use red hose, the pressure side we use blue hose, so you can identify. And you can see some jet lines here. We use white hose, meaning the PVC inside the pipe is actually colored for color coding. So this suction side here, I could bleed it here. Technically I could even bleed it up here. This is where I'd typically bleed, or I'd bleed from this big one right here, the suction side. And you see how these have got notches on them here? So I'm gonna show you the tool. I could use this, and okay, so I could take my pliers, I can grab on here, and then I can just twist this. You see how it turns? Now this one's actually moving well. So in this case, if I had this and it was moving nice and freely, I could just turn this, and you turn this until water starts coming out of there. Right? And then that makes sure as the water comes out, it's bleeding the air. And this will usually sputter and spout, and you'll hear, you know, it just sounds like you're opening a pop that's been shaken, right? And that's gonna bleed that out, and water will get here, which is okay. You'll get a little bit of water in here. On an Arctic, it actually has a drain that'll allow it to drain out, but I often will shop back any water up. I'm just gonna tighten this back up. Now let's say this was really stiff. If this was really stiff and I felt I'm gonna turn it and it might break, I'd abandon this. I would switch to this method where I'll just take these notches here. You can take a flathead. I actually prefer to have a shorty screwdriver. It just gives me a little more swinging room, particularly if this area is confined. But you can just grab on here and then you just tap this counterclockwise. It's not moving. Hold on, it's on there pretty good. Am I tightening it? No, I'm not. It should be. There, you see it moving? And then you can just tap like this and see how that union's moving around, right? And what'll happen is as I crank that further and further, eventually you can see there's some dripping right there, right? See, water's dripping out there. Now I don't want to create a big leak in the one in the showroom here, so I'm going to tighten that back up. And now my leak has stopped. Now, it's interesting, I'm calling that a leak, just so you know from warranty purposes and stuff like this. This is something that as a customer, you should be checking your unions quite regularly to make sure that they're not dripping. Because with the vibration of the pumps, with the heat and expansion and contraction, sometimes these loosen off a little. As you can see, this one was quite tight, but these can loosen off and you can get a little drip there. If you call the service department saying, I got a leak, and we come and tighten your unions, you're going to get a bill. So if you don't want to get a bill, tighten this yourself. So open up your cabinet from time to time and check it. And so you bleed this off, and what's going to happen is your pumps and stuff are going to be on. You hit the pump button as you're bleeding this. If you take this all the way off, you're going to have an explosion. So you don't want to do that. You just loosen it off enough so that water's coming out. It looks like I'm still getting a little bit of water there, so I'm going to tighten this back up. You could use channel locks, but I find like using the big channel locks in here, it's hard to move around and you hit stuff. So I like this method, works really, really well for you to be able to do that. And it's as simple as getting water into these lines. As soon as you get water in these lines, the airlock clears and your pump works just fine. And that's really it. That's how you clear an airlock on your hot tub. If it happens, you'll know because nothing will work and then you'll hear humming and stuff like that. You need to burp your spa. I'm John Keirstead from Arctic Spas, Vancouver Island. Thanks for watching this video on our Learning Hub.